Hi, this is Mark at learnhowtogarden.com, and in today's episode of the 10-Minute Garden we're going to be talking about a hotbed, a no-dig hotbed. If you're not already subscribed to us at Learn How to Garden, there is a link directly below this video. Just click on that, it'll take you to the website, input your email address, and it means we can let you know every time we put up a new film, and it also means you get access to our free monthly newsletter that contains films on different aspects of growing, sometimes sort of my thoughts on gardening, and really what's happening in the horticultural world at that moment in time. We're here 7 days previously to what you've just seen, and this was the bed before we put all the pieces of it together, a bit like Lego. Bare earth, and the important bit at this moment in time is if we take this thermometer, and you'll have to trust me on this, the thermometer is registering soil temperature of 5 degrees. So I'm not sure how close in on this, we're about here. So that's the temperature of the soil, 5 degrees, so even too cold for grass to grow. And the whole point of what we've been talking about with this no-dig hotbed is to get that temperature in the soil raised. And we're going to do that, as we've said, using muck. And most of you, if you're going to get horse muck, will come across it in bags like this at the side of the road. And that's quite good because you don't want well-rotted manure. You want manure that's between 2 or 3 days and a maximum of 5 weeks old, because it's the actual decomposition, the breaking down process that will give us the heat. The first thing you want to do, like with any deep bed, is you cover the base of this with 2 or 3 thick layers of cardboard. That stops any seeds germinating, it stops any weeds coming up, but it will allow anything we grow in to go down. So we pop that in the bottom just like in a normal deep bed, and then we thoroughly soak it. Where this will differ from a normal deep bed, which is in layers, this is purely just going to be horse muck, which is why this bed comes in the 4 layers that you saw, but we actually only need to use the first 2 at this point. So I'll just get this second one on. And when I constructed these, and they're quite simple, they are actually constructed so that they go together like Lego. And this is going to give us about 18 inches, a foot to 18 inches of growing heat. That's going to be the depth of the bed, the horse manure, to heat up. Then on top of that we've got roughly 3 inches of compost. In our case what we're going to use is the compost out of our old grow bags, and then we've got the little polycarbonate top. You could make this deeper if you wanted to make this in the autumn so it would go through the winter. The deeper the actual bed, the more heat it'll generate and the longer it'll go. And then what we do is we literally empty our manure in, but as we empty it in we want to fluff it all up. And what we mean by fluffing it up is when it comes out of the bags, literally try and make sure there are no pieces that are very, very mucky, as in pure muck, and none that are great big chunks of hay or straw. And once you've fluffed it up and spread it evenly, what you then have got to do is get into this bed and trample it down, because you don't want air spaces. That will actually give you hot spots within the bed. So you fill it and you trample it, again slightly different to how you would with a deep bed. And we keep doing this until we reach the top here. So I'll just do that. So once we've done our gently sort of tapping it down to get rid of those air bubbles, the last thing we want to do, or one thing I've always been taught to do, is to water it. And water it gently with a watering can. And what you're trying to do here is activate it. So the best thing you could possibly do to water this is use urea. Now, I'm sure you all know where you can get urea from. Easiest thing in the world to acquire, and it will activate this bed and really get it going. Always reminds me at this part of that wonderful word gong farmers. When I was a child I thought they were gonk farmers, but in fact a gong farmer was someone in Victorian times and earlier whose job was to go around and collect, if you like, the human effluent from chamber pots, and then that was sold to farmers. And in fact some of the most productive land we have. There's a wonderful piece between Manchester and Sale which is so dark with the years and years of application of it, but it makes it so incredibly rich and fantastic to farm once it's decomposed. So urea, if you haven't got urea, you can just use water, but a tiny amount to get it going. I'll just pop the thermometer in here. Now, we've been turning this compost, as we said at the beginning, for about a week before we popped it on here. And it'll be interesting to see if we've already got some heat building up. So it's been in the bed about 5 or 6 minutes, and it's actually showing on here at the minute 11 degrees. Now, I expect it to go up from that. In the next week, it's going to rise from that because this bed will get really warm. I'll cover it with a piece of plastic so it doesn't get rained on. So 7 days later, we'll take this plastic off the hotbed, and if you just put your hand on, you can actually already feel the heat coming off this. And we've now got to case it, so we take another piece of the hotbed. It's like a jigsaw, this. So once our third layer's on, what we need to do now is give a couple of inches, 2 or 3 inches of growing media, and for that what I'm going to use are these things here, which are last year's old grow bags. So we'll empty these in and then spread it around, and then we're going to leave it again for about another 4 or 5 days just for this growing media to warm up slightly. So we'll pop these grow bags in, just break them up, work them round, pop the plastic back on top, and leave this for another, like I say, 4 to 5 days till the temperature of this media has warmed up, and then we can actually plant directly into this, or we could actually get some young plants out of the greenhouse that may have been grown in modules, salads, lettuces, things like that. And I'll show you just how quickly this will actually work. But probably what I tend to do is just put some plastic on the top, either twin wall polycarbonate, or you could just literally use plastic sheeting to keep the heat in. So we're just literally using the heat of the composting manure to warm up this soil. And it only needs to be 2 or 3 degrees to make a massive difference, but this will probably be 5 or 6. And then in the summer we'll plant our courgettes in here because there'll still be some latent heat and the courgettes will love it. So we'll be back here in another 4 days, measure the temperature, and we'll start planting. So we're back again 6 days after we case this bed. We've had the thermometer in the soil, and you have to trust me on this, the soil is 10 degrees. We've now had the thermometer in this bed for about 5 minutes, and the thermometer is reading 21 degrees. So you're getting 11 degrees more warmth out of this bed. And if you actually put your hand on, which obviously you can't, you have to trust me on this, you can actually feel the warmth in it. So we're going to sow a couple of things in here to see how quick we get germination. The first thing we're going to sow, we're going to scatter sow some spinach. And the reason we're going to scatter it, it's quite a small bed, and you know, I'll be able to weed it quite easily. And we're also going to put some agretti in to see how quickly that comes. We'll scatter that on, work it in with our hands quite gently, just, you know, through this old compost out of the old grow bags, and then we're just going to lie a piece of plastic over the top of here to keep that heat in. And we'll come back in 7 days and we'll see how we are. But this is a hotbed. We're getting 11 degrees more heat just by putting the muck in here. If it did nothing else but grow this crop for us a couple of weeks early, and then we can use this no-dig hotbed for our courgettes in the summer, it would be worth doing. Great idea, great free heat source. I hope you've enjoyed this preparation of a no-dig hotbed, and I hope you keep watching Learn How to Garden to see the exciting developments with this type of growing.